of all, I have to apologize. When I'm in Germany, I look like this. Don't know what happened on the flight. But I forgot my superhero suit, so I just took this jacket. So my name is Kübler, as you might know me. Some of you might know me. I have been here once or twice in the last 10 years. For the guys who don't know me, I push some buttons. Okay. That's me. I'm 44 years old now. I've studied electrical engineering in the University of Paderborn, and I'm working for myview Systems since the year of 2000. What do we do there? We are a PIM vendor. We develop software, a PIM system mainly, which all of you might have noticed. What is a PIM system? We have some other PIM vendors here. We have a lot of people who use PIM systems. I'm one of the guys who implement our systems. At the customer side, I work as a project leader in our professional service team. Sometimes I'm a marketeer, and sometimes I'm a networker. And that's because I might be Spiderman, and at least sometimes I'm dreaming of being a superhero. So I don't want to show you a lot of our products because all of you know how PIM systems work. But I had some topics on my mind. What comes beside the software? When I do my daily business, what kind of people do I meet? And what makes this with me and perhaps with our company? What are we thinking about when it comes to disruptive technology changes, as we heard before? Is myview always running in front of the wall, getting a bleeding nose? Or are we smart enough to have new ideas to deal with these topics coming on? So this is a PIM system, as all of you might know. That is our PIM system. I love it for about nearly 20 years now. What do? We classify product data. We collect data, as all of you know. That is a boring thing most of the time. We try to put functionality to our software that it isn't that boring, or that you are quick to get your data in our system. What do we do with our data? And of course, all the other guys of you also do. We use the data for online shops, online catalogs. Of course, we do print automation together with InBetween. Years ago, I told you about catalogs with 2,000 something pages. We automated with InBetween and our PIM system, not by one click, as we have learned, but without using batch files, without doing scripting, just using our system, that works fine. And when beside the software, I meet a lot of people. And what comes into my mind when I do product classification, of course you can classify the people you meet also. There's the IT department. In every company I know, the IT department is a little bit special. Don't know why, but these guys always interact different as other departments do. And I often deal with product managers. Product managers don't like putting data in systems. That is totally boring for them. And I also often meet marketing guys who like a sexy user interface. Give me a sexy box where I could put my text in. Doesn't matter if it works or not, but just make it sexy. And I have got a lot of users which sometimes like what they do with our software. Sometimes they are thinking of using other software. No, they don't. They're just thinking how to put data in our software. And because it is so easy, most of the time, they look like this. And it's me on the downside who tries to keep all these departments together to do a successful project. And when I was thinking about it, here we have some wines put in a classification, which is quite a not so boring product. It has a lot of screws and nuts and whatever. And when I see all the department guys, they behave like a classification too, but they interact a lot more. There's not these three. There's the marketing officer, and he has some colleagues. You can put a hierarchy on it, but they interact. The IT guy always says, "You're an idiot." Your product manager, "You're an idiot." User, your monitor doesn't work, just put it on, "You're an idiot." And there are also these feedback on every relationship. So a product classification might be a special form of what we call a graph. We have some knots and we have some edges, and we could put attributes to knots and edges, and we get a proper picture of how my company colleagues work together. And when this is so similar from a technical background to a social background, perhaps we can use it for technology. This is the graph picture of a LinkedIn profile. You have lots of people, you're in the middle, and you're connected to a lot of people, and they are connected to other people, and you got a huge graph. You're connected, and every single edge can describe a certain relationship. It's my friend, it's my colleague, I know him for 10 years, whatever. And that lives in the edges. When you try to do this the classical way, when we started in the year 2000, nobody thought, that's not true. But there was no such database technology like a graph database. No, everybody was thinking about these database schemes, do relational data, put it in tables, invent some sexy indexes, and then you have to be really smart to put some SQL statements together to draw this picture. If you ever did SQL statements for programming some sort of application, if you have the first join, I can imagine what that means. When I get the second or third join in my SQL statement, my brain is too small to really understand what's going on what kind of data I'm expecting at the end. So that's really hard to develop such a database scheme for a probably simple technical problem. So what I've learned the last years, it seems to be quite natural to use this graph approach to put data perhaps in a graph database to get rid of these tables and indices, what costs you a lot of performance. And we are not the first company who thinks about it, and we didn't invent graph database. If we did, perhaps we had some houses here in Barcelona. We don't. We live in Paderborn, which is nice too. But there are some guys called Neo4j, for example. They did a great graph database. And what you can do there, you have a technical problem, and you just go to your whiteboard and try to describe the problem in these knots and edges, how technical things interact together, and perhaps if you think of, I show you, if you think of Twitter, everybody knows Twitter. This is the graph database model of the Twitter database. You have tweets, you have users, you have hashtags, and some fancy stuff like links, and that's quite simple. If you look at it, you can understand it by just looking at it. They are not 20 of table with indices connected together. It's quite obvious to read this. So it seems to be an intuitive approach to have this kind of database modeling, because you can describe it on a wall and take this into your database and you are ready to go. Your performance comes from minutes to milliseconds, not only for inventing this database scheme, but also for using it. It is really, you get a really performance if you have a lot of indices, where you have lookup tables to put all your joins together in an SQL statement. It's so much faster to have information in these edges, how these nodes interact. That's so much faster. And some use cases where these Neo4j graph databases used is, for example, real-time recommendations. If you think about Amazon, you click on a product, and in the same millisecond you see similar products. Okay, that's easy. Just look in your product tree. All the siblings are the similar products. But you see who else has bought this and what he wrote about it. And it's quite easy and it is fast. So it seems to be good to model your data this way. A great thing for the bank industry is fraud detection. What they did, they collect all your data when you go to an ATM and get money out of the wall. When you are here in Barcelona at the ATM, get you $100. And in the same minute, with your same bank account, somebody does the same thing in Hong Kong. That is not possible. So long as you don't understand the quantum physics, and you can be on two positions on the Earth at the same time. I can't do it, and I think you all can't do it. So that is not possible. So if you have the possibility to analyze this data in real time, you can prevent the guy in Hong Kong who tries to steal your money from doing it. And of course, you can model a lot of other network and IT operations in such a model. One example I would like to show you that was quite famous, I think 4 years ago. Some journalists suspected lawyers to support tax saving and organized crime in Panama. And they got a lot of documents from a whistleblower, and they collected about 2.6 terabyte of data documents. And in the former days, there were similar investigations. What did they? They put the data they had in spreadsheets, Excel, I think, and tried to look it up. This name was on this transaction, and the same name is on document 2 million something. It is the same, but the analysis of this data was always incomplete and really cost intensive, but time consuming. So using a graph database scheme, all the data was analyzed by two people with IT background. Here's a slide displaying the amount of data. It's really huge. And they built a simple application. I don't know in detail. What they did, they scanned all the documents using some OCR software and extracted names, addresses, contracts, so whatever, and put that into relation. And then they can put a name in a search field or something and just look up what is the connection. Where's this name coming from? Which letterbox companies have the same owners? And they were really successful, and a lot of people got sued or have to pay a lot of taxes. Of course, myview as a small-sized company, medium-sized, whatever, we try to conquer the world, but we are one step ahead. Some big players also use these graph databases, so it's not so crude to think about it. As a Google or LinkedIn, as I showed you before, did this, and they are really successful in using it. We heard before, we live in an era of digital transformation, or Internet of Things is a big thing to come. So our company was thinking about what can we do. So there are 2 commercial break slides now. We know how to deal with product data. We made a lot of functionality we gave a lot of functionality to our PIM system to have a great user experience, if you can say so, to manage data. But for what reason? And what can I do with my data I collected? When I just listened to the Kercher presentation, I can really feel the pain. I don't want to do some batch files and programming stuff, so, oh, I have a fancy table. Let's think about some programming. No, I want to have a table at any time with the correct data. And that has to be the goal. And I don't want to know exactly where my product data lives or is used. Just use it. And be sure if I provide the data, it's always the right data. Because that's the thing we can look after. So we invented another product, we call it XOM, because it's a 3-letter abbreviation, and that has to be in this digital transformation world to fit the buzzword bingo. We built an integration and publishing platform to integrate data of arbitrary systems. So we know the domain of products. We know products, we know accessories, we know how they interact. But there are a lot of other domains, like insurances. Our products are mainly technical products, like screws, sometimes wine bottles, or whatever you can bring, electronic components, the Kercher stuff. But there are a lot of other things to come. Perhaps if, which these product data can interact. For the insurance people, perhaps if they know you used an automobile, or no, an Audi A4, and you crashed it, and you have a car insurance which now should pay money because you have this insurance. And the insurance company comes, let me see the product data, the specification of this car. Perhaps was there some kind or some serial numbers of cars which has a fault. Of course, the product owner won't give this information, but you can interact your product data with other domains. That's what we heard from Dr. Welch at the beginning. We have lots of computers and data piled exactly beneath each other, beside each other. But how do they interact? How do we build networks out of this data? And that is our approach to do this, to provide a platform can deal with these topics. I'm not interested in doing batch files, sorry to say that again. I just give you the data and use it. And hopefully when you use the data, you don't need batch files. That is a technical aspect of rethinking. That's not so disruptive when you hear it, but it was disruptive for our company. We did our PIM software for about nearly 20 years now. And now we came to a point when we recognized we can do more with our product data. And we kept in mind we don't want to spend another 20 years to build a successful software, so that must be quite faster, and we have to use our learnings from the past. So we rethought our developing process. Okay, we say we do agile programming. Do we really, or do we just put the label on it and do the same thing like 10 years before? My boss who won't hear this, he's in the back. We put a label on it and did the same thing further on. But 2 years ago we started rethink this process. How do we develop software, and can we do it a smarter or clever way? So that was really disruptive for our company. We changed processes a lot, and we are still doing and learning it. But I'm quite happy with the outcome. With the first, the XOM product is nice. It does exactly what I have told you, and we got a lot quicker. What you see we awake, we rethink what we are doing. I got a lot of new colleagues, which is fine too, because we grow. We hired new developers for this software product. So, talking about digitalization or digital transformation, that for me personally, this three-letter acronym is really disruptive. It made me think about what I did and what I will do the next years. It's a quick insight how the data model looks, not so interesting. And thinking about all this and remembering me of wanting to be Spiderman, I had a quick look of you or mine networks in your daily life. When it's you here in the middle, we are here, and InBetween knows some other partners, and you know a lot of people. There always is a main strand which connects you, perhaps, to InBetween. I use InBetween for, I don't know, 15 years. I like it, I'm successfully in using it, so I like my relationship to InBetween. I know Alexander for a long time. I know he likes to eat fried duck tongues. Perhaps I should not say that. And the next time, perhaps I come to Stuttgart and I want some clever discount or something from Alexander, I invite him and buy him a bowl of fried duck tongues, and perhaps we have a great evening and I get the discount I expect from my project. So you can draw a lot of connections to the different people here in the room, you know, in your daily life. And you have to be clever enough to use these connections. Not to abuse it, as always you can use it or abuse it, but just use it. You know you are connected to different companies, and you know a lot of guys, and if you have a certain issue, just think about who stands in front of you. What does he like? How does he likes me? I don't know. Perhaps he thinks I'm an idiot because I'm eating duck tongues, fried duck tongues, which is slightly strange, but delicious. So that's my personal insight of networks. I think I'm a social person. I have a lot of contacts and I love talking to people. And that was a good reason to draw a picture and to reflect what that means for me. So what have I learned? Perhaps what have you learned in the last few minutes? We are not alone, we are connected in various ways, and using networks you can visualize that. A lot of technical processes seem to be similar to this. You can describe the problems in a graph. And graphs can be very clever to use to speed up your developing time, to speed up solving problems. What we have learned, the presenter is not a superhero. Sorry for that. And we all can be little Spider-Man if we invest in strong networks. That's my slogan I want to give you for this presentation. And so I'm done, and hopefully you could enjoy it.